Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dreams Unlimited Travel Podcast. My name is John Magi, and I'm going to be your host. And in this episode, we're going to talk about booking a Universal Orlando vacation, especially looking at a sort of a compare and contrast to a Disney vacation. I'm so happy to be joined by our panel of experts, Dreams Unlimited Travel agent and SiDisney host, Federico Argar.
Hello, hello, hola, hola. Thank you for inviting me.
Dreams Unlimited travel agent and panelist on the DCL fan podcast, Chris Vorobek.
Hello.
Our producer for all things Diz Unlimited, Dreams Unlimited Travel, but also host of the Universal podcast. I don't know what we call it these days. Craig Williams.
Hello.
What do we call it, Craig?
Right now we're calling it Diz Unlimited's Universal Show. It's very creative. Thank you.
There you go. Let's see if we can try and make it a little bit longer and a little more harder to say next time. All right. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you everybody at home for joining in and participating in the conversation. We are looking to talk about Universal Orlando. Now, we talk a lot about Disney. This is sort of our, main focus a lot of times on our show because we are huge Disney fans. We love Disney. We like talking about Disney. We like critiquing Disney and all the things associated with Disney. But we're also big fans of the theme parks in general. And of course, you can't talk about Walt Disney World without talking about Universal. So I've asked Chris and Federico to join me because in addition to Craig, I think I've got a really strong group here who know Universal and can really talk about it. So the first thing we want to sort of focus on is booking a Universal vacation. Obviously, we want everybody to come to Dreams Unlimited Travel and book your Universal and your Disney vacation. But Chris, I'm going to go to you first. What should folks know about a difference, sort of the biggest difference between booking a Universal vacation and a Disney vacation?
Yeah, and I always try and work with folks because they are different. Sometimes people think, oh yeah, I can just go from one to the other. They're different companies. They are not owned by the same people, and it can be confusing. For example, there's a Marvel Island at Universal Islands of Adventure, and people go, hold on, doesn't Disney own Marvel? Yes, they do, but that was there before Disney bought Marvel. So there's also a Simpsons land. Disney owns Simpsons. So I think things can get. And I had a client the other day who reached out and said, "I want to go to which park is Harry Potter at? Which Disney park is Harry Potter at?" Well, his Harry Potter is over at Universal. So they're two separate things. They're located about. It's not that far as the crow flies, but it can take 30, 40 minutes depending on traffic. I hear there's traffic in Orlando. People tell me that it takes a little while to get from one to the other. You need to think about how you want to do this. And if you're doing, the first step, I think, is, are you going to do both Disney and Universal? Are you doing just Universal? Are you doing just Disney? If you're going to do both of them, do you want to stay at one and then go to the other? Or are you going to stay at both? So those are some of the initial things I think that are important to think about.
I mean, absolutely. We are, we're entrenched in it, but we forget that folks don't know. They don't understand that they're two completely different parks. They might be completely different sides of Orlando, which when you say that, someone might say, well, what's a big deal? Different sides of Orlando. It's hard to get from one side of Orlando to the other. So there are options for folks who want to stay at Disney and then do a day or two at Universal. But that was the old way. Right? It used to be Universal was not that much of a theme park. There was not that much to do. So it was okay where you would go from one park to the other, say, I'm going to add a day at Universal. But now it's a much more intense experience. There's a lot more to do at Universal. So, Federico, I want to talk a little bit about what folks affectionately call the split stay. I want to do a split stay at both Orlando and Universal. What can you tell folks about that?
I always recommend, if you're doing more than 2 or more than 2 days in Universal's theme parks, my recommendation is always to do a split stay. To stay in Disney when you're going to the Disney parks, and to stay in Universal when you're going to visit the Universal parks. And this is because you're going to be closer to the parks. Of course, you're going to have transportation. If you need to go back to your hotel for any reasons, it's going to be much simple and easier and faster than if you're staying at Walt Disney World and then visiting the theme parks in Universal. And also because Universal hotels are different from Walt Disney World hotels. Some of them are cheaper than the ones in Disney World, and some of them are, in my opinion, better. So is a better deal to stay in Universal if you're doing more, in my opinion. I don't know if Chris agree with me or not, more than 2 days. That way you can really take advantage of all the benefits of staying inside Universal. And the good thing about booking Universal vacation is that you can add more things to your package than you can do with Disney World. So for example, if you're doing the split stay, you can add transportation from your Walt Disney World resort to the Universal resort, and then from there to the airport when your vacations are over. We cannot do that with Walt Disney World, but Universal has these different things that you can add to a package that makes everything easier and more convenient if you want to do the split stay.
I
That
think one of
actually
the
raises a
things
good. Oh, I'm
one of
sorry,
the
Chris.
misconceptions that a lot of people have about Universal, particularly from a Disney perspective, we think of Disney World is so big, right? To get from one place to the other can take 45 minutes, for goodness sakes. Universal's not as big. It's much more compact. The two parks literally sit next to each other. So doing a park to park, you're hopping from one to the other. It's much easier. And particularly if you're staying at several of the Universal hotels, you can walk right to the park. And it's not a long walk. It's actually a pleasant walk. So they still have transportation. They have boats and buses and all those kinds of things. But it's a much more compact. The whole thing is, now we haven't mentioned the elephant in the room. There's going to be a new park. Epic Universe is coming sometime next year, and it's about 2.5 miles away from where the current parks are. So that's going to change a lot of things, and how we don't know when it's going to open. We don't know how it's going to change, how they do tickets and all those things. We're going to have to redo all this at that point. But at the moment, getting from the two parks and getting to the Universal hotels is relatively easy to do.
So one of the reasons we wanted to talk about a booking Universal vacation is not only because Epic Universe is on the horizon. Craig knows much more about this than I do, so we'll go to him for a little bit. But what I wanted to point out is we think you should be visiting Universal before Epic Universe opens. Right? All of the attention is going to be on Epic Universe, and it's going to be very exciting, and it's going to draw very large crowds. We think now is the opportunity to go and visit Universal, get in the two existing parks, the water park, if we want to consider that the third park. So think about that when you're planning your vacation for this year into next year. Craig, what do you know about Epic Universe as far as opening, as far as maybe how transportation is going to work, hotels, things like that?
Well, there's not as much information out there that as people would like at this point, considering, if you go based on what they're saying, 2025 is coming up very, very soon. It's not that far away. But in terms of the park and how it's going to connect to right now the main campus at Universal Orlando, they've been doing a lot of infrastructure with the city of Orlando to basically make a giant roundabout ramp that will really help buses get back and forth. So I know some people were hoping for kind of a cooler way to get back and forth between the the two different areas of Universal now, but it is going to be bus transportation. And I mean, I know Fedi and Chris have probably used the buses a lot on their vacations to Universal, because they're probably not always staying at the premier hotels close by. I'm sure they've had to use them every now and then. But when I've used the buses at Universal, even for their main campus, I feel like they're actually pretty reliable. I mean, sometimes it's busier than others, but generally speaking, it seems like there's always a bus waiting to take you back to the hotel. You just might have to sit on it a little bit longer than you'd like. And in terms of actual travel, yeah, it's around their current hotel system. It's not that far. You're talking about a mile basically to the furthest hotel, and then one day with Epic Universe, it's just going to be, extra mile and a half there, and you're going to be connected to that entire world. But I'm sitting here waiting for more details. I want to know how they're going to handle tickets. I know annual pass holders are really interested if there will be an annual pass that actually includes it. There's a lot of rumblings and speculation that annual pass holders might get completely shut out from Epic Universe because why do you need them? I mean, I hate saying it that way, because I do think annual pass holders are very they're very important overall to any theme park. They're the return visitors all the time, but the hype around Epic Universe is so big that I think people are willing to buy day tickets or multiple day tickets when it opens, if that's what gives them access. So I'm just waiting patiently for more.
It's very exciting. It's always exciting in Orlando when something new comes around. This is huge. This is a whole third theme park for them. Again, I have to roll my eyes because they consider their water park a theme park. I don't. But so it's very big for us. Chris, I believe you told me you took a travel agent course. Did they talk about the new hotels coming to Epic Universe?
They did. Yeah, so there are three new hotels that are going to be part of that are going to be essentially adjacent to Epic Universe. Two will be in what they call prime value. It's essentially not value. It's the next step up from it's. They have a bunch of classifications, and I think we're going to do another podcast just talking about hotels. But there's two that will be focused on that, and they're essentially just across the street from Epic Universe. And then the one that everyone's watching is called Helios, which literally is at the north end of the park. It is part of Epic Universe. And goodness only knows what the prices on that thing are going to be. But it's an impressive hotel. And the whole Epic Universe they've been releasing pieces of it. We've seen the How to Train Your Dragons section, and they do these great fly-throughs. It's going to be amazing. And we only the last one was Animal Kingdom. That was 20-something years ago. So there is a lot of excitement. I agree with you, John. If you're a Harry Potter fan, for example, now's the time to go, because it's going to be crazy when Epic Universe, and I think Epic Universe is particularly so early on is going to be so crowded. But at least for me, it won't be fun. Like that many people and you're jammed in, it's just not fun. And when you're waiting 2 hours for every ride, it's exciting, but now's a great time to visit the universe. And the two existing theme parks are super awesome. So it's a great time to go.
Well, they currently do have world-class attractions at Universal Studios Florida and Islands of Adventure that need to be seen, but I think also too it's going to be good to have a benchmark for what Universal actually does. Like talking with the hotels, they're Universal hotels, but they are operated by Lowe's Hotels. So it's a different level of service, I feel like, than you really experience at Walt Disney World and other Disney products, because it's a worldwide brand that is very revered, that is taking care of everything on that side. But then you get that Universal theming that kind of runs throughout all of their resorts. But from the parks, you get an idea of the types of team members that you'll see there. I know some people, they prefer Universal team members over Disney cast members. They just think that there's a different air about them. I think they're all great. You get to see how Universal is currently doing food. You're going to get to see a lot of the attractions that are, kind of the basis for what they're doing with Epic Universe. Everything they're doing in Epic is going to be more technologically impressive. It's going to be just on a different scale. So I think it's good to have a benchmark of where they started before you see where they're going. And that's you're going to see that right now at Universal before Epic opens up.
And if you're a Disney fan, if you haven't experienced the Wizarding World of Harry Potter's, there's two parts of them. They are amazingly well done. And every single piece of them, from the theming to the attractions to the merchandise to the food, to the shows that they have, every single part is so well thought out, so encompassing, and just you just feel like you're walking into a Harry Potter world. They're really, really exceptionally well done. And as I say, there are two parts of them. So if you haven't done that, I was the guy the Disney person, like I would kind of scoff at Universal. They don't, it's good, but it's kind of B. I'll tell you, the Wizarding World is A+ work, and they did an amazing, amazing job, and it's well worth seeing. If that's the only reason you go, and it shouldn't be, but if that's the only reason you go, it will really blow your socks off. They're really, really impressive areas.
There is an interesting. I apologize for the. There's an interesting phenomenon, right? What's happened is we kind of consider Universal and Disney competitors. Oh, they're competitors, and they're trying to get the same. They're trying to get the same visitor and the same guest, and can they chip away at each other's time, precious vacation time? However, all this is done for those of us who love the theme parks and love coming to Orlando or being in Orlando for vacation, is that it's made each other up their game. So we saw with opening of lands at Disney, then Universal did, and then Disney did, and so there was this sort of competition, and now we're getting that again with Epic Universe, and we're getting that with, the new hotels that are coming. But what a lot of folks still like to do, unfortunately, is we still like to compare and contrast. Right. So I want to get into a little bit of the folks who come to Disney have a certain idea of what it is to vacation at Disney. So what can we do to help them understand how Universal is the same but yet different? So Federico, I'm going to go to you on this. I want to talk a little bit about, the latest thing at Disney is Disney Genie, Genie Plus, Lightning Lanes, and how that has complicated things, but also allowed people to do more in the parks. And Universal has their own version of this. They've actually had it first. So Federico, give us a little bit about the difference between what Disney has and Universal has when it comes to their in-park experience.
Sure. I wanted to add, before going to the Disney Genie nightmare, that I think is very interesting what Universal is doing, because even though they are opening a new theme park next year, they are not relying on that only to invite people in. And they are doing a lot of things in the other parks to keep them fresh and to bring something new this year, so people can find something fun to do if they travel this year. They just opened the DreamWorks land in Universal Studios Florida, the Minions land that opened last year. They have a new nighttime show. They have a new parade. So they have a lot of things, sort of like not forgetting about the other parks just because they are opening a new one, which I think is very smart of them to do. And it's going to keep things fresh for the other destinations that they have. And speaking of the Disney Genie and the Universal Express Pass, it's just, I always have to tell my clients when they book a split stay between Disney World and Universal, and I have to spend like 20 minutes talking about the Disney Genie, how it works, how to get advantage of this service, and they go and they ask, okay, then now let's talk about Universal. And with Universal, I'm just like, No, you just go with your room key if you're staying at one of the premier hotels that includes the service, the Express Pass service, or if you buy the service separately, you just go to the entrance of the attraction, show them that you have it, and you go in whenever you want. You don't have to do reservations. You don't have to wake up at 7 a.m. to do anything. It's just more simple and fun, and that is something that, of course, is more expensive than the Disney Genie, but you
It's
get
almost
what you're
the price of the
for.
ticket, right? It's expensive.
Yeah, yes, but it adds to the fun, which is the main goal of having that service. It doesn't create something else to worry about. It's just you pay for it and then you have fun in the parks,
Here's the deal.
and
We
that.
we have learned from experience that people are not afraid to pay on their vacation. Yes, of course, people are budget minded and budget conscious, but there's a set of the population that is not afraid to throw money at the problem. And first of all, Federico touched on it. The premier hotels at Universal, the express pass is included. Do the math. Figure out what that's going to cost versus what
Right.
your room is. I mean, I think it's worth it. But then even if you
And
can't
it's
do
important to
that,
note, John, sorry to interrupt, but that is both your check-in date and your check-out date. You get Express Pass, unlimited Express Pass on both those days. So essentially, you get 2 days of Universal Express Unlimited when you stay for just one night at one of the deluxe hotels, one of the premier hotels.
right? And yeah, so if you want to do it as an add-on to a resort that doesn't include it, it's expensive. It's an expensive proposition. But I look at what people are paying for Genie Plus and for now adding on lightning lanes for their entire family. I mean, it becomes an expensive proposition. So for those who can afford it and are willing to pay for it, great, great, great stuff.
Yeah, and with
Let's.
the
I'm
I'm
sorry. Go
sorry,
ahead.
with the Express Pass in Universal, you have two options. If you're staying at a premier hotel, you're gonna get the unlimited one. But if you buy it separately, you can choose between the unlimited, which allows you to enter the attractions all the times you want on with this fast lane. And you have the other one, which is the normal Express Pass that allows you to enter the attractions one per day. And right now in Disney World, when you buy the Disney Genie, you can only book an attraction once per day. So if you want to do if you love, for example, the Jurassic Park ride at Universal Islands of Adventure, you can do it as much as you want with the fast entrance if you get the Express Pass Unlimited, which is great.
John, I think Disney gets a rap of being very complex, right? You have to figure out, and explaining Disney Genie Plus to people in an elevator pitch is nearly impossible. It's like and there's always questions, and I certainly get that. Is looking at tickets as I'm trying to explain people how tickets work at Universal, and I looked this morning. There for if you wanted to buy a annual pass at Universal, there were, I think it was 18 different options for Universal. That's only if you're looking at
Wow.
it. There are complexities. It's it's why we're here. We're going to walk you through all this stuff, but there are complexities to both sides, and we're always looking out to make sure you get. One of the big things that we often hear is, "Oh, Universal is for older, for teens, and Disney is more for the younger." And Universal is certainly doing things to change that, and I think Epic Universe really, really incorporates. They're going to have a bunch of very family-friendly roller coasters and attractions, and even areas and shows. They're trying to do that. Federico mentioned DreamWorks Land just opened, which I'm going to go down next month and check it out. But it looks absolutely adorable. But I was looking at the amount of attractions that have height requirements, and just as a comparison, Magic Kingdom has 32 attractions. 26 of those have no height requirements whatsoever. And in fact, one of the ones that has height requirements is the Tomorrowland Speedway, the little cars that kids get to drive just because they can't touch the. So I don't really. If you look at Universal, Islands of Adventure, 16 attractions, 14 have height requirements, and most of those are 40 inches or taller. So it's just something you need to be aware of if you're going. You want to. It's probably for you when your kids are a little bit older, and just because they want to go on the rides, and if they're not over 40 inches, it's going to be challenging.
I think what's happened too is I think people want you just mentioned a really good phrase, elevator pitch. People want to know, okay, what's the difference between these two parks? Tell me now in one sentence. It's very difficult to do. What's better for my family? Very difficult to do. You know, there's a lot of complexity, not only to the different parks and the different ownership of the parks, but also to the traveler, right? Everyone has different ideas of what it's like. Some people have kids who don't want to ride rides.
Right.
Some people have kids who want to go to the shows. Some people have kids who only want to meet certain characters. We've got to take into account everybody when we talk about these two different parks that people are going to.
And as you well know, John, people like to do theme parks in different ways. People do Disney. I mean, I have a job. I'm very lucky. I get to go often. So I am not a get there first thing in the morning and I am staying until the last minute. To me, that's like torture. That's what they do to you in prison. They make you do that long day and you're exhausted. But some people, like, they feel like they have to see everything, they have to do everything. Totally get that. That is one kind of trip, but that's going to be very different from we want to enjoy what we're doing. It's not my first time. It's not my last time. We're going to get express pass. So the trips, those two different families are going to have very different trips and need to be planned very differently.
I agree. And I think it's really cool that now you are going to become the guy who has compared Disney to going to prison. So that should be great.
We've all been and it's particularly when you have kids that are just melting down at the end of the day because they're hungry and they're tired. And like, oh my goodness, it's just that's not fun. That's my metric is I like to avoid the meltdowns. If I've avoided meltdowns, I've had an awesome that's Disney magic.
Absolutely. There's a lot to talk about, right? We've touched on hotels. We're going to do a separate show about Universal hotels, a little compare and contrast to Disney. But I want to make sure we don't miss some other stuff. Federico, what other differences do you want to point out between Universal and Disney that you think is important for our listeners and our clients to get?
In addition to what Chris was saying about kids and smaller kids, that I think Universal is doing a great job with that lately. I think overall is a more fun experience in the sense that you don't have to do so much planning than when you go to a Disney theme park. You're going to be able to walk around the parks several times per day. For example, in Islands of Adventure, there's a big lake in the center, and then all the attractions are surrounding that lake. And people, when they don't know the parks, they think, oh, what way should I go? What should I do first? You're going to have time to do several walks through the park in one day. That depends on how many attractions you do, but it's overall easier to navigate because there are not so many attractions. Usually there's fewer people in the theme parks compared especially to Disneyland or the Magic Kingdom. And so you're going to be able to enjoy it more without all the planning that you have to do to take advantage of all the things that a Disney theme park can offer, which of course has the downside of you're going to have to do more in order to keep yourself busy all day, but you can also enjoy it more without all the planning, in my opinion. So I think it's a very different experience from the Disney parks, but and all the things that I want to mention is Universal Studios Florida has great entertainment, and I think in the past years that park has the best entertainment in the whole Orlando or Central Florida area. Yes. For example, the Christmas season in Universal Studios Florida is amazing. You're gonna get to see live music in the parks, dancers. The parade is great. You have all the decor. This was a surprise for me because I love Christmas at Walt Disney World, especially with the Christmas event at the Magic Kingdom. But Universal has done a very different experience, but in my opinion, is great. So even though if you don't do that many attractions, you're gonna have things to do just enjoying the ambience of the park. And I think that's a great thing that Universal is doing.
It's interesting from a person who watches the industry, how many people go from Disney to Universal. How many people who are in either management in entertainment or theme parks make the leap from Disney to Universal. Don't know if it means it's a better company. I'm not going to comment on that. But I think that there's a lot of people who think, oh, Disney sets the standard. Well, Universal's definitely kicking it up a bit. All right, Chris, I'm going to give you last word on difference between the parks. And then, like I said, we're going to do another show on hotels and getting around and that sort of good stuff. So last word goes to you.
I think both are amazing, and as you mentioned earlier, we are so lucky to live in a time that both these amazing parks exist, and we have seen the competition, and we get to be thrilled by it. You have Rise of Resistance, which just still blows my mind when I get on. You go to Harry Potter, the Harry Potter section, you go to Jurassic Park and the Velocicoaster and just there is such a selection of stuff that we get to choose from. And as we look at Epic Universe, wow, it just looks like amazing. And I love that we get to do this. Both have different things. Both involve Federico has different clients than I do. My clients like to plan and like to know, and in fact, that's I think one of their challenges is, hold on, why am I not putting my reservation in my app and all those kinds of things? It's a different kind of planning. It still involves planning. You still need to think about what you're doing and why you're going and how you're going to work your way around. But it's a very different style of planning. They're both awesome. Have a great time.
Agreed. I think it's great. We are an embarrassment of riches these days with what we have available to us in Orlando as far as it comes to theme parks and entertainment. I want to remind folks at home, if you're interested in booking a Universal Orlando or even Universal Hollywood vacation, you can talk to your Dreams Unlimited travel agent. If you don't have a Dreams Unlimited travel agent, you can write to either of the folks on the show today. Chris Vorobek is Chris V at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com, and Federico is Federico at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com, or you can write to me, John at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And before we wrap up, I want to also just let folks know that coming up in the future, sometime in the future, we'll be doing question and answer shows on all the different topics that we talk about, all the different vacations we sell, and planning for your vacation and all those good things. So if you want a question, you have a question that you'd like answered and you'd like us to do it on the show, you can write to me, John at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Federico. Really appreciate you guys being here with me today.
Thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Craig, for your input. Always, always enlightening.
I don't believe you, but thank you.
You saw I was searching for the right word, right? You saw I was trying to get the right
For
word.
sure. Yep.
No, absolutely. Our universal expert. And thank you, everybody at home, for listening and watching. We hope you have a great week, and we hope you have a great vacation.